the EGT3 Challenge Pro is coming down to the wire. As today, we make our way to California, to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, for the 6th round of the campaign here on EGT Canada. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Glenn Bunt as we get ready to see which drivers can solidify themselves for the closing stages for the chance to battle for the title. This season has been an intriguing one to say the very least, but some of the top dominating competitors of the campaign, Glenn, have started to falter after bad luck in various different circuits the past few weeks and time penalties for some others. And now, with the track so attrition-filled as this one, those competitors will truly be tested tonight.
This is where it starts to get interesting, Justin. We are into the short strokes now, and we are at one of the favorite tracks in North America. WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca is quite a challenging racetrack, a high downforce racetrack, and as you mentioned, boy, there has been some shuffling the last couple of rounds and really upset the apple cart, as they say, at the top of the leaderboard. It's going to be interesting.
For those who missed last week's run with the French coverage in particular, it was Racine coming away with the victory in the pro class by 0.6 of a second, one of the closest finishes of the season over Eric Bourdois. That was after plenty of the contenders had troubles. Mayer, 15-second time penalty in the race, finished in 8th. Boivin, 5-second time penalty, finished in 11th, one of his worst runs of the season after having a DNF the previous time out. Then you include drivers like Shentag, Riley Shentag in particular, who had a 10-second penalty on top of things. And then when you think about the Pro-Am side, where drivers like Beaudry picked up the victory after a 15-second time penalty for Marc-Antoine Melançon, a lot of competitors are starting to make very critical mistakes in the closing stages, especially those wanting to win the championship.
Well, exactly, and you look at the position changes from Misano to now, and it's just incredible how you've got drivers, as you mentioned, Beaudry. He's gone from 7th in the points to 5th in the points, and you got a tie for the lead in that Pro-Am division. And it's not just about the racing right now, it's also about the head game, because now it's when they start to worry more and more about the points positions and where they are, and every little point matters at this stage of the game.
A lot to discuss when it comes to the championship side. We'll take a look at those in just a few moments or so. Quickly, when it comes to this racetrack, though, this is the type of track where if you want to win the title, you need to make sure you stay clean at. Because in several cases, I think it's pretty safe to say it's very easy to get yourself involved in trouble, especially in Turn 11 and other parts of the track. Let's take a look at the point standings and see how things fare out. Despite the recent struggles, Jonathan Boivin is having the points lead entering tonight. 100 points to the 78 for Riley Shentag. Eric Bourdois with his victory last time out, or rather his strong run last time out, he is in 3rd with 74 points. Racine, with that said victory was referred to, just about less than 50 points back. Mayer also within the 50-point mark in the pro standings, Glenn. 5 drivers amongst the championship favorites entering the final 3 rounds of the season.
It is going to be interesting for that battle from second on down, I think. But fortunately, Boivin, that one falter last week, he had enough of a cushion, and look at it, he's still there.
Still trying to hold on, especially when it comes to the speed. He's had plenty of weight penalties too to deal with as a result of winning races. As you know, in this series, you come away with a strong victory or a strong performance on the podium for your class, you end up with a weight penalty for the ensuing race afterwards. These drivers will have a lot to tackle, whether at Laguna Seca, Barcelona, or Zandvoort for the next 3 weeks and rounds of the season. We talked about the Pro-Am side. That's also taken an interesting turn, because how critical was that time penalty from Melançon? He is tied for the points lead now, in fact, because of that, with Bruno Levac 70 points apiece. They're followed by Tommy Landry in the point standings, 6 back. Then another 4 back is DeWart. Beaudry rounds out the top 5. He is 15 points behind, very compressed, and as a result, the next 3 rounds are going to be very busy for Pro-Am drivers.
It's going to be exciting to watch this battle right to the very end, and that's where it's going to go, right to the end.
I think so too. Now, as we see these drivers continue to also propel themselves on forward at tracks such as Laguna Seca. Let's take the quick glance and see who you feel might be able to fit best with this type of racetrack. It's a circuit, mind you, with plenty of elevation changes that can really challenge the Pro-Am drivers today.
It does, and as I mentioned at the top, a lot of downforce, a high downforce racetrack, and it's going to be interesting to see those cars that you can get down to the ground and start loading them up with wing until it starts to hurt the top speed. I think those are the cars that are going to have the advantage, those low, sleek cars, but I've been wrong before, but I think it's going to be the low, sleek cars that come away with the better advantage on Laguna Seca.
This racetrack, keep in mind, an FIA Grade 2 circuit, and its track name is Spanish for Dry Lagoon. The area where the track now lies was once a lake. Of course, has since been built around said dry lake bed and has been reconfigured several times and has had artificial ponds re-added throughout its facility's history amongst its 2.2 miles and 3.6 kilometers. But with these drivers ready to try and tackle themselves around this racetrack here in Central California, let's take a look at this week's track guide to learn how to make it around the racetrack efficiently at WeatherTech Raceplay, Laguna Seca. Take a look as qualifying is underway, as we'd like to thank our partners at Centre Porsche Quebec, as well as Club Auto Sport Delta Quebec, and Distillery de Croix for their support of EGT Canada in the EGT3 Challenge Pro series this season. Take a look as the Pro-Am drivers making their way around the racetrack, several still yet to record their first times up on the board. But you can already tell when it comes to the circuit, the track conditions, some of the hottest drivers will be seen this season. 30 degrees Celsius the track temperature, 23 degrees Celsius the air temperature.
Yeah, good looking weather forecast for race day here, and as you mentioned, in sunny California, it can get pretty warm out there.
This is a racetrack, mind you, as discussed when it comes to, and seen when it comes to the track guide, that has a lot of ups and downs, whether it's the run to the corkscrew or whether it's the run up to said point. With the Andretti hairpin through turns 3, 4, 5, 6 to the Rahal straight, going down the corkscrew to the rainy curb. This is going to be the track that I think for a lot of drivers you may see major mistakes come into play, because even the final corner, several times over the past I've seen drivers push too hard on the gas, spin it to the inside wall, demolish the race right there.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It is a challenging racetrack. You're always on the move, and how many times, have you seen that last corner, turn 11 is a real tricky one. You got to get right down into first gear, bring that car down, and of course you're going to want to carry that speed because you got a long run to corner 2 and Andretti hairpin. So you want to make sure you get off corner 11 as best you can.
Take a look at Bruno Levine, currently 9th on the board, up to 5th in the Bruin car. Qualifying, currently seeing the top drivers separated amongst the top 5 by about just under 0.2 of a second. Here's Vincent Benaroux. Again, he's trying to make his way up from 13th. but 1 second back in Pro-Am qualifying. BMW to the top of the board, a 1:23.4, a blistering quick time for the 74.
Well, and that throws away my low car mentality or strategy. BMW.
Yeah, the manufacturer diversity, as we talked about, is pretty big when it comes to this series, with plenty of different makes being represented. BMW, McLaren, Bentley, Lexus, Aston Martin, Mercedes-AMG amongst them, Lamborghini as well. Is there a preference, you think, that drivers may have, or rather a strength to one of the manufacturers compared to the others with a track such as this one?
Well, that's where I thought the high downforce racetrack, you want to put a lot of downforce and a suspension package, like a medium to high suspension package in a car for a track like this. So I just thought maybe those low, sleek cars might be the advantage. But look at this, you know, BMWs are showing the way, so I'm probably wrong when I'm thinking that.
Most of the drivers coming in and out of the pit lane still, with 23 minutes in general left to go in qualifying. Plenty of time for the competitors to work with in the Pro-Am field for today. The pro drivers start third side of the session today. And as the track says, it's fast. Drivers setting fast times in the 1:23.6s in the mid-pack of the board. Now looking at Tommy Landry, 6/10ths back of the pole time for Pro-Am currently.
Landry doing a good job at the early stages of this qualifying run. A little further down in the overall points for Pro-Am, but right now sitting at the top of the leaderboard for this qualifying run.
Remember, Boulanger showed some good speed at the start of the campaign, looking to claw his way ahead for this one here today. Here is the Nick Valley, who also showed some good speed early on in the campaign. But his respective Aston Martin has picked up a little bit of attrition as of late. Looking to get back together is that one car here for this round after some struggles as of late.
Yeah, missed, I think he's only done about 4 of the rounds up to now, so he's missed some of the races, which obviously is going to hurt you in the points. And with no drops, you've got to count all rounds, all 8 rounds. So yeah, you missed a round or two, and you're fighting your way up.
Last time out when it came to the run at Misano, finished in the bottom portion of the field, 36 seconds back in 13th position. Pro-Am. Earl Levine, meanwhile, back up to the 5th position. With that battle for the points lead being so ever so prevalent, that car needs to continue to stay up towards the top running, as here is Naresh Dabidin in the Battle Goat Racing car. Over to the BMW of Patrick Barrett.
Ferrari battles, and the two drivers just battling for the lead in the overall points right now. Be behind fifth overall this point.
Here's a look at one of the Orion cars. This is the Frene. Talk us through a little bit of a lap here, as this is currently in Sector 3 at the Corkscrew.
Oh, the Corkscrew, I mean, who doesn't know that? There's a 5-story drop in the first 2 sections. All the way down to 10-story problem. Gotta have that market. A lot of drivers use there's a tree. There's a tree that was market. Here's that spot in corner left was talking about down into first gear. Make sure you get through that part of the racetrack, because as you mentioned, you've seen some cars spinning to the inside and you're down in first gear, so you put the power down too soon, and yeah, it's gonna go around on you.
Frene, by the way, had to back out of that respective lap we've seen with the off-track, picked up out of turn 10. But that's the panic that some drivers may have here at this track, is they may not notice that there's a tree that's a marker there. They just see that big 5-story drop, and in some cases on various sims, may just run into the dirt not realizing there's where the exact line can be. Here's a look at Demers.
Yeah, it's a blind elevation, and as we'll watch this, that first turn in, and then almost as you get that first turn in, you're swinging the wheel back to the left to get that second part right there, and then back to the right. It's, you want a nice straight braking run into the corkscrew. If you don't, you could be in trouble.
Haven't seen too much of Demers this season. In fact, I believe it's the first start of the campaign we've seen 31 on circuit, the M-Power Baby Machine. Red Bull logos looking to find a way to charge up for his first time. Currently the only driver in the Pro-Am class yet to set a time with less than 5 minutes to go. Let's see if this counts. Yes, 16th, but he's 8 seconds back, expecting that much quicker this time, obviously.
Yeah, it took a while to waited and let some of the traffic dissipate. I'm not sure why he would have waited so long to get that first lap in.
Here's a look at Jean-Luc Marchand. He is with Castrol's Tom's Lexus RCF, top 5 on the board. And I remember seeing him so strong at Mount Panorama to begin the season. He's been very quiet since being a contender for the race win in Pro-Am to start off the season back in January.
Yeah, you're right. That third place finish to start the season off, a 15th, 18th, and a couple of 5th place finishes on the season.
The tough thing when it comes to this qualifying run, though, is there is traffic ahead. In fact, nearly had a bit of wheel spin to the corkscrew.
What a great view. You just see that elevation from the steering wheel from the top of the corkscrew to the bottom of the corkscrew.
That is Patrick Trepanier, who was in front, should say. And now Marchand has clean space. We'll see how the time fares out with less than 4 minutes to work with. There's enough time for 2 more qualifying laps, likely 1:23.4. Here's a look at Demers, meanwhile, still looking for his first flying lap. 1:26.1. Here's a look at one of the championship contenders for test racing, meanwhile. Lawson, pressure on, needs to pick up a 10th to try and get the pole gun.
Yeah, we'll watch through the corkscrew. Good line down through the corkscrew on his way to corner 9 now.
See how the time ends up as DeBitten is also coming across the stripe at about the same time here. 1:23.3, his best time. Still 6th best, however. But the driver we're looking at, second in qualifying, one of the championship contenders for Pro-Am this season. Lawson with enough time, maybe, if anything, to get one more lap in. 1:22.712, the first driver of the 122s on the day.
Good run. Making his mark. Letting everybody know that I'm still the championship contender.
Absolutely huge, to say the very least, as we take a look back at the Orion car of Lafrene. As an organization, they're one of the top groupings this season. Considered one of the top 5 pairings this season, because there is underlining team championships as well when it comes to this respective series, where some of the top organizations try and earn that crown. Whether that be advanced sim racing with Bovine, but also test racing, or those who don't have a team, who have no name as their official team name.
Yeah, they are sitting, Team Oran is sitting 5th over on the team standings right now with 16 points. Advanced sim racing at the top of that with 112.
And they putting up a decent time. 13th, Bidden. Even quicker, 1:23.1. Expecting big things from that Porsche, but also expecting possibly a quick time as the car is off in the sand trap. Looks like possibly the end of the run for DeWart, so DeWart will not have a chance to try and fight back for the pole. He's 3/10 back, was the initial pole sitter before Melançon's time.
Still on the outside of the front row for class, though. That's still a good run for that BMW.
But that's still with the pro drivers. That could separate them out to factor in. Also, an air driver is off the circuit, number 31. That's Julian Demers, who's had an incident in the corkscrew. Marchand, meanwhile, likely his final time, 1:23 flat. That's good enough for the top 3.
Nice run. You saw him climb up the leaderboard there. About 3-4 positions, I think, from that lap.
One of the drivers who really excelled at Bathurst was Jeff Collins. Looked very solid when it came to the elevation changes, looking to pick up more track position to close out his time. That time by did not improve the time, stayed to the 1.1 seconds back. But for Melançon, this is huge. To be able to have this track position as pro drivers are about to start their qualifying, it looks like he'll get the Pro-Am pole. In fact, he knows that he's pulling off.
Yeah, he just went a little, got the back end a little out in the corkscrew there. Yeah, I'm good. I'll leave it right there.
3/10 quicker to the nearest car, absolutely. With that, the pro drivers are making their way out from the paddock to be able to set their first lap times. 4 drivers are still on circuit. We'll see if they elect to maintain some times. As here's a look at David Belanger, also a part of Orion E-Racing. We're underway for pro qualifying as everyone tries to get a little bit of separation. Others trying to get into packs of 2 and warm up the tires.
RJ coming off that third place finish.
There's Eric Bordeaux, last but relaxed, powered by RST. As it's everybody's favorite time. Tire warming time. And some drivers have an art form when it comes to doing this properly, while also making sure their tires aren't turned to mush. All the driver, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it was good to say you wanted that, tire management again on a 30-degree Celsius track temperature, tire management as well. Like you say, you want to make sure you keep those gummies underneath you.
Qualifying underway for the pro drivers, and it should be surprising to see the 99 want to lead the qualifying session out. Ben has been really quick all campaign long for advanced sim racing. Absolutely incredible what he's been able to do this campaign.
Yeah, how about the bit between his teeth, do you think, after that unfortunate last round where he actually didn't finish first or second?
Which is absolutely shocking when it comes to him in particular. But you have to consider, too, part of that came down, believed, to try to make sure his setup was right and making adjustments. And that's a major risk where if you, say, join the grid and then back out, you might not have enough time to rejoin after the adjustments.
He's using all the racetrack and then some on his way up to the corkscrew.
Kicked up a little bit of sand last time. Now goes up through the corkscrew. Really aggressive compared to what we've seen a few of the program drivers do, trying to use a lot of that green turf coming to the corner that time as he makes his way out of Rainy.
And you notice on some of these corners they have the sausage rolls, and you do not want to get on those. They'll really upset the car.
Avoiding a lot of those curves now, using a little bit of the runoff space coming out of the corner. How will the qualifying session start for the Lexus? The benchmark 122.7. Kevin Racine, the winner last time out, follows up with 123.5. The other drivers recording their respective times as well. As we take a look at Guillaume Mador for EGT Motorsport, who's had a quiet season in the 111. This time by 123.3.
Mador's top finish so far today to 6th place.
Showed good speed, and when he's been able to find space, same can be said for Cloutier, who starts off well. You also can throw Dubé into the grouping for test racing. Looking to back up the speed from his Pro-Am teammate, 122.8. As a matter of fact, Melançon's time is still top 5 overall. John,
if he can hold on to that, that's pretty impressive.
You know the big thing, though? Remember that off-track you mentioned? That invalidated the time for the 99.
Track limits exceeded.
If you exceed those, you lose that respective time and have to go again. We've seen the tires usually have a window of about 3 laps for its optimal performance, being difficult to exceed from that point forward. We'll see if this one's cleaner and does count on the board for the 99. One of a few drivers yet to set a time. Pavan, 121.8, my goodness.
Well, there you go.
That is one...
Back where it belongs, he says.
Nearly a second quicker than the next nearest car.
How does he do this? Race in, race out. How does he do this? He's just that much above everybody else it seems in these races.
Then, keep in mind, it was talked about by some of the top series organizers that he is an alien. There's a reason he's a multiple-time series champion. Coultier, by the way, up to 6th in the 122.6s.
Good run with the Lamborghini.
Oh, and into the wall goes Katjunis, sliding off to the sand. Katjunis with a bit of a problem in qualifying. Has to tow his car. You don't want to crash in qualifying either.
Yeah, I'd like to see where that all went wrong for him.
Keep in mind, this is a track where it's very easy to go off and slide off like that, where you clip a bit of the sand. It can possibly, if you don't get it slowed down in time, when the time comes to hit slam of the brake, you're along for the ride.
As we watch Racina, just notice he's got to get that good straight run. Remember I talked about that straight run up to the corkscrew. He had that car right over to the left-hand side, up over the rumble strip, straightening up the corkscrew, braking as much as possible. It was a good run for Racine through there.
An hour 10 picked up by the 99. Zane looking to improve. Does not. He was a 1/10 of a second slower than his previous time. There's also been an air crash in the corkscrew by Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. So several drivers struggling in that section. As we take a look at the 5th place car on the Lamborghinis. Over to the BMW, now in 5th.
9 minutes to go in qualifying.
Still plenty of time to record the times. This is one of the quicker racetracks in terms of lap times, keep in mind, on the season. Meaning there's a lot more chances to record times compared to, say, a Spa or a Bathurst. How does that, in your opinion, impact some of the strategy that may come into play on how you handle qualifying?
Well, I think what you've got there is not that I've got to get out and get it right away attitude, but as you mentioned before, with a couple, 3 laps on the tires, you've got 2 scenarios there. Like, you never want to be out on the racetrack for too long. Like, even in practice, you can go out and find out what's wrong with your car and you can make adjustments. Well, same thing with the qualifying. You want to get those tires optimum moment, right? So I don't know if really the longer session makes a difference or not. Yes, if you have a lap to get ruined by a car, make it up. You've got time to make it up. You know what I'm saying? Or shorter runs. You don't have that.
As we take a look at Eric Bordeaux, 122 flat, his quickest of the session. Still about half a second back, though, for the pole. Some of the drivers in some of the parts of the racetrack, though, are already, it looks like, such as Moisson we've seen there, trying to go a little bit back and forth with the tire warming. Already thinking about that second 3-lap stint, it appears, possibly.
And a couple of yellows pop up. One was for Shentag, and one for the 22 as well.
Some of which, I believe, are drivers stopping along the side. Here's Carl Allery. We haven't seen too much of the Corbelis Motorsport machine this campaign. Big lockup, missing a bit of the apex, is the 988. Currently 2 seconds back the whole time. It does gain him a spot regardless, though, as here's a look at Aiden Bordelon, who's also been in contention all campaign for the wins.
Yeah, he had watching that driver through the Misano race. He had his challenges in that race.
Yeah, he had a lot of battling to do, it seemed, at that racetrack where, depending on the sim racing background, Misano is not one of those that is on every platform, of course. But for Bordelon, he finishes off in 7th, and he is going to the paddock to get potentially some tires. But to emphasize that he finished in 4th, 9.8 seconds back at the end of that respective round. One of the drivers who looks to try and bounce back from some ups and downs is this one. It's Thomas Lavoie, currently 14th on the board. Now up to 13 for Laps Racing, the 20 car. Has also showed great pace at times throughout the campaign, but hasn't had the greatest of luck. In fact, last time the number 20 did not start last time out at Misano.
Yeah, DNF for that one. And, looking at a 9th as his best to date so far.
Compare that to Kat Junis. Kat Junis, remember, started off his initial run for MK Racing with the slide into the wall. Looking a little bit better now. He's 1.5 seconds off the pole time, though, Glenn.
Yeah, and he too had a DNF, so he's got some redemption here at Laguna Seca, I'm sure, as well.
How difficult is that as a driver, though, to be able to shake off those cobwebs? Or shouldn't say the cobwebs. Shake off the negative performance from, say, a previous time or a couple times in a row, to be able to then turn that into the positive to break the snowball effect.
That's right, exactly. You got to get, out of your own head, and as we come down to the end of the season, that gets harder to do because you're thinking, oh man, I just blew it and I only got a couple more races left. So, but you've got to just shake that off, and probably he has, I'm saying by now, but yeah, you get another one, and like you said, that snowball effect can just get you really round up, just think, oh, is this ever going to end? And it starts to snowball. So let's see if we can turn that around this time.
June is still in 16th. Here's a look at Medor, EGT Motorsport. One of his best qualifying performances in the season. Top 5 still on the board. Needs to find another 8/10ths to have a challenge for the pole, though.
Probably wants to get these 6s out of his head because he's had a 6, the 6, the 6, he's had a 16th. So I think he's probably looking to get that 6 out of his head.
Bit of a pattern there starting to pop up, to say the least. And it can get into your head at times, I've noticed, where you may be thinking of that pattern and then saying, okay, eventually, I'm going to have to use that as the brand, or it's going to be stuck. That's stuck. Let's see if he ends up breaking that today.
A lot of cars stop in pit lane.
Looks like a majority of the drivers maybe are done their qualifying or making some final adjustments to go at one last time. Mark Bordeaux. An interesting look on his car for this one with the red rims, but also the black side for the right side of the car, I should say. But also having a more white livery tone car. A little bit of a different look, I believe, compared to past runs, as well as pattern in general.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a sponsorship. You know how these drivers sometimes, these teams have to have multiple sponsors to make it through a year. Maybe that's what he's doing, paying homage to a new sponsor.
Absolutely. Great designs can come into play. Have to love, too, drivers such as, you see the supersonic paint scheme for Marc-Antoine Landry. Gonna zoom on ahead, EGT Motorsport banner up to 5th position. And guess who's in 6th again? Lawrence Dubé looks to try and bump himself out from 7th spot, maybe upwards to 6th on up. Under 3 minutes to work with in the session. I've liked what I've seen from Dubé when he's been able to keep it clean. The rainy race was a little bit tricky a few weeks back at Zolder. He's been good, though, when he has himself some space to be able to make moves, and he's not afraid to go give a little bit of some bumping and running in that golden black car.
Yeah, you're right about that. A little bit off the whole time, but I still got, like you said, a couple of minutes here to try to improve on that.
The surprising thing, though, the race winner last time out is an 18th, Glenn.
I was just going to say that. I can't believe that he's that far down on the leaderboard right now. Is he having a problem with the setup here? I think
it was a big victory for him. Remember, Glenn, that's a 30-kilogram penalty if you win the previous round that carries to the next round. Is that going to be the reason here, you think, or is it down to, like, your thinking setup on top of that?
Well, no, you know what? That's a good point because he has not had to carry any of that additional weight yet this year, and he's got 30 extra kilograms. So maybe this being the first time he's had to put that weight in the car, and a high downforce racetrack like Laguna, maybe the combination of the two is just giving him a bit of a challenge here.
He's up to 14th now at that lap, right behind Thomas Lavoie. I'm really curious to see if he's able to claw himself ahead at this point as Lavoie pulls off. Looks like he may be, you're looking for the pocket, or maybe just about done for qualifying. Once one of the final cars likely to set a time would be Cat Junis currently, as he nearly bobbles it around off the corner.
Another driver looking to bounce back after a DNF at Misano.
Looks like Cat Junis is trying as much as he can to try and warm up the tires before he goes for one last flyer. There is a bit of a runoff once the session gets the checkered, where if you are in the principal lap, you can keep on going. Looks like Bordeaux will not be able to complete his lap. He is off to the pit lane, and his qualifying is done.
Down through final corner. See if we can get a good run onto the front straight here.
17th right now on the racetrack. Seen a lot of bobbling and weaving. Not expecting this time to be an improvement. Likely going to be pushing here to try and see if we can get something during the runoff portion of the session, if at all.
Looks like he's about 8/10ths off of his best time so far, I think that was.
And now checker flag waves, looking to complete his lap here. He'll be one of about 7 who have the chance to complete their current lap. Marc-Antoine Landry amongst those also having a chance. 711 will be, it looks like, the final driver with a chance to improve their time, as Dubé has pulled off. Nice and smooth through the corners and the rumble strips, just avoiding the sand. Rahal straight. Bit of traffic ahead may be a factor. 717 that's up the road. That is Riley Shente. One more car is pulled off. Looks like that's Racine's qualifying run done. These two will be the final to set a time. Make it the final one. It will be Landry to set a time to close out qualifying here at WeatherTech Race at Laguna Seca. Landry closes the session out. What was an intriguing one, but Jonathan Bavant dominated from the get-go on his first official time.
And we're not surprised, are we?
I'm not surprised. Are you?
No, not at all.
But the intriguing thing is, will he be able to keep himself clean after some of the struggles last time out? That'll be also critical, especially with those looking to find a way to chip away at his points lead entering state of California.
And with that 11th place finish, no added weight.
Exactly. That's going to be a major thing to consider too. That's going to be a major thing to consider, especially when it comes to the pro side of the title fight. Pro-Am side too, going to have some intriguing layers to consider, Glenn, because especially when it came to that big time space and speed shown by Melanson, that's going to be huge, I think, for the 45.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I think we're going to have an exciting race in the Pro-Ams. Those two with 70 points are going to have a great battle. Let's hope it is exciting as I think it's going to be.
Especially with the chance of potential cushions as the drivers making themselves their final adjustments before they're allowed to make their way to the starting grid, be able to get themselves underway for EGT3 Challenge Pro competition. Again, this is the 6th round of the campaign. And in your opinion, for this type of a round, knowing there's a few races left to go on the schedule, with Barcelona and Zandvoort right after this, two difficult tracks in of themselves, what's kind of the thought process you feel for the drivers tonight, knowing this is one of the last elevation change circuits they'll have to deal with of the season?
Some might be thanking their lucky stars it's the last elevation change race, because it is one of those challenging racetracks, but it's one of those fantastic racetracks that drivers love to go to and have a chance to drive. But I think you're going to have to look at hitting those marks, and don't make a mistake. You've got about 6 good passing opportunities on this racetrack, so it's a great racetrack for passing opportunity, but again, it's a fast racetrack and a high downforce racetrack, and don't want to make any mistakes in a couple of those key positions around the racetrack, particularly as we've seen with the corkscrew, and as you mentioned, coming off corner 11, you don't want to get that car spun to the inside in first gear coming, because it's one of the first gear corners of the racetrack, and you just don't want to make a mistake there.
Drivers still have about a couple moments or so now before they make their way to this starting grid. They have 5 minutes to be able to set up their cars for today's race. Let's take a look at how things are for today's starting grid. Jonathan Bovine starts on the pole today. Then it's Eric Bordeaux, followed by Moisson in 3rd. Then it's Dubé in 4th, Shentag in 5th, followed behind by Marc-Antoine Landry. Then it is Mador, Cloutier, Soucy, and Bordeaux rounding out the top 10. The first driver from the Pro-Am side is in 11th in Melanson. And look at the cushion on the left side of your screen between him and 2nd in the class, because there's David Boulanger, Lavoie, Racine, Avery, all between him and DeWard. 2nd in Pro-Am, who will be having a battle with Marchand from the get-go. Kat Junis is the next separator between the Pro and the Pro-Am drivers, with Boulanger behind in the 888. Debidin, Valerie, General, DeGeese, and then Bibido rounded up the top 23 in qualifying today, Glenn. And that separation, remember, from top to the bottom of the pylon, about 2.5 seconds today. A big split on times here in the state of California.
Yeah, a big split, and as you mentioned, that Pro-Am gap, nice cushion for Melanson to start the race off with. Look at the track temp as well. It's cooled off just a couple degrees, 3 degrees at track temperature right now. It's a little cooler than qualifying.
All while the in-sim time is just past 11 a.m. as well. And the track conditions optimal for this one with partly cloudy skies expected for the full 1 hour on the clock. Your keys to victory for this one here today.
Keys to victory, again, I think are going to be those key passing points. Make sure you have some nice clean passes. Nail the corkscrew, because that can make you run off the track real easily if you don't get it right. And again, that last corner. And actually, one of the things that I find tricky about this racetrack is that out point for the pit lane is just about under that bridge on the front straight. And then from there all the way down through corner 2 to the exit of corner 2, it's you in control of your car. And yeah, you're going to be, you don't want to get too anxious, because you got to get into corner 2 in the pit lane, and it's narrow, and you don't want to mess that one up. So that could be actually one of the keys as well, as the pit out here.
Absolutely. Seen a few cases too. Drivers may take a little bit too much speed on an access road, slide off into the grass and the sand in the Andretti hairpin, a by race car. About 90 seconds of adjustments to go. You mentioned you're expecting medium to high downforce packages.
Yep.
What else would you adjust for the conditions, knowing it's a little bit cooler Celsius-wise compared to what qualifying was, where it was blistering hot?
Yeah, I guess probably they're going to be doing a little bit of pressure adjustments to the tires, but other than that, like I said, drop it down and add wing to it until it starts to hurt, and that's where they're probably looking at. And just the tire pressure adjustments right now, with that 3 degrees difference from the 30 to the 27 here to start the race.
Last of the preparations coming on in with about a minute or so before they get rolling. As you see a one last adjustment, I believe, with that jump ahead for the 99 as well. What do you feel will be the contenders for this one outside the 99 car?
You had to throw that one away for me? I was going to say the 99.
Somebody else may have a chance, though. You never know.
Well, exactly. And I think, Belanger, coming off a podium finish, is going to probably ride that momentum, I think. And I think Bordeaux as well, a second place finish. But Racine, I mean, he didn't have that great qualifying. Let's hope he's got a better car for the race now, because as you know, coming off of first place, you want to keep that momentum up, and we'll just have to wait and see how his car works here after qualifying.
Especially in the midst of the Hornet's Nest for this start coming up.
Right, exactly.
That's going to be the big thing, as you see on board the viewpoint before the drivers will get themselves rolling ahead for today's action from WeatherTech Raceway. Laguna Seca, rolling pace lap is now underway, with the 99 leading the field for this warm-up lap. Again, 1 hour up on the board, mandatory pit stop. Most of the drivers this season have been electing to try and stretch it to the very end nearly for a quick top-off. Final 3 or 4 estimated laps to go in the race. How would you play the strategy card for this one tonight, knowing that has been the trend, yes, but it sometimes works, sometimes not so much?
I'm thinking we're going to see much of the same we've seen all year. I think we're going to see late pit stops again for Laguna Seca in round 6 here. I really do.
I think there's a chance, absolutely. But in regards to where you may exit for the pit lane, do you think drivers may be stuck in the midst of traffic? Or based on your experience, will drivers be able to find that clean space out of the pit lane that may optimize that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they can manage to get that gap, then they're laughing, because it's such a tricky pit out, as we've said. So you don't want to be too full of cars coming in, and you want to have a nice run coming out. If you're stuck behind somebody who's a little slower than you coming out of the pit stop, how frustrating is that one to get on the gas?
Couple moments come to mind, Glenn, in particular, with this racetrack where driver exits the pit lane side by side with some drivers battling. First corner into the brakes, boom, they get hit from the side, and calamity strikes by turn 3 exit.
Yeah, not seen that before, trust me. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't want to be that driver who gets involved in the contact.
Same thing, like you've got the cars in the racetrack, double apex and that ready hairpin in the first gear. They're coming off with a lot of torque, and you're coming out of the pits, and they're trying to get over to the left-hand side of the racetrack for corner 3, and there's a couple of cars racing themselves up the pits.
Already a few drivers nearly making contact in the parade lap. One nearly driving off the corner of the corkscrew, others nearly rear-ending each other That's how tight it can be to try and go side by side there. You drivers nearly scrubbing some of the paint off each other already.
Yeah, it's going to be the challenge, you know, the high speeds with the narrow racetrack. And I just was curious as well. In that starting lineup, who was Levesque? I did not see Levesque in that starting lineup. The 775 tied for lead in pro.
He was towards the middle pack, I believe, when it comes to qualifying. We'll talk about him potentially later on. But now, green flag waits up with a stand from WeatherTech Raceway with Laguna Seca. All set to go for round 6 of the EGT3 Challenge Pro season. Green flag is out. We're underway from California. Then trying to charge hard into the corner, looking around into the inside, 2 by 2. A majority of the pack, huge check into the heart of the pack. Couple cars coming to a full stop for the first hard braking zone.
Not surprised to see that, towards the end, that domino effect.
Big loose moment for the 21, nearly looping around. A big save coming off the rumble strip. Still maintaining pace, though. That was Alexis Moisson, who nearly spun it around. He's now under attack as the leader, and Boban tries to pull away from the first side-by-side fighting.
He got a great start, Boban. Alexis already has a couple of car lengths gap and a little bit of breather already. Look at this.
Especially since there's a lot of shuffling, a little bit of bumping and banging behind the 21, who got himself clear. Side by side, 3 wide. Dubé forced 3 wide. To the corkscrew for the first time, and around they go. Hard of the corner.
No. Oh, look at this. Just calamity. Corkscrew calamity.
2 of the EGT Motorsport cars collected in the heart of the corner. Everyone else tries to maintain pace, but some of the worst damage picked up by the 717. That is Ronnie Shentag, who got hit a couple times in that.
Seems to be okay right now, but boy, that would be bad news for the second place driver.
Second, I seen the 3 wide with Dubé. I think that was the sign of that's not going to work.
No, I couldn't believe I seen 3 wide coming into the corkscrew.
Dubé is still going regardless of that. Some of the cars around him lost plenty of track position, and this whole gaggle of cars has lost a lot of time, you'd have to think, because of that. The separation already massive. Debating amongst some of those who have gained some time as a result of all those checkups. He looks to try and find a way around the 775.
Yeah, so, you know what? Just guys settle down, get the first lap, and you don't win the race on the first lap, but it's just easier said than done, and you get into that kind of a battle situation between wide and somebody got an opportunity.
Oh, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the 717. That is Shentag. Shentag, he has lost a ton of spots this lap. He is going backwards. So meanwhile,
yeah, we have. Look at that. Look at the top.
Wow.
Four. Where's everybody else?
Everybody else got held up by the 3 wide and the 2 wide through the first sectors of the race today. And already Dubé is amongst those who's fallen behind. Marc-Antoine Andre should say, Melanson as a result. Timing pylon down on screen after 3 minutes off the board. Melanson is up to 7th already.
Wow.
Nearly rear-ended by his teammate though, in Dubé in the braking zone.
Got through that one though.
I don't think this is the start everybody expected. Look at the difference, though, when it comes to the track position game. Levesque is only back 17th overall.
The gap that we talked about at the start of the Molan song, for us to pro-man drivers. Look at it now. Yeah, there's 4 the gap he's got now to the next second place car with the pro-man.
8 different cars, yeah. Here's Moisson, meanwhile, to the corkscrew. And noticing he's been taken a little bit safer compared to, say, the 3 wide car in Dubé as he nearly gets hit by one of the EGT Motorsport cars in the braking zone. That's Mador. Have to wonder what's going to the mind of the 111 after the bumping and banging on the first lap that cost them a lot of the time overall on the track.
Yeah, and
few drivers have already had to come to the pit lane, whether for damage repair from the incident or whether for potential strategy differences. Patrick Trepanier is amongst those who has already been passed by the leaders and has lost a lap as a result. Up the road, David Belanger trying to battle it with David Susi now for 5th position.
Right on his back end, as probably so back.
BMW versus Bentley. Bentleys have been looking very strong, and they pulled away from the Ferraris that lead the 3rd packing of cars.
Good runs through there. You didn't see anybody getting car up over the rumble strips too badly. Get that straight run through the corkscrew. And down we go, down that 5 stories.
2nd through 4th are still pretty close to one another. Bordeaux is still in 2nd. 3rd and 4th within the draft as here's a Marcel Belanger now under attack. This is the battle for 25th position. And the McLaren tries the outside line to the corkscrew to try and hold on to the spot. Makes it work as he cuts the corner. The BMW gets the power back in the door zone.
Yeah, he had the better line through 109 here, so he's able to get it back. Look like a little pushing going on maybe, though.
They're still pushing a little bit. That is General DeGase, who is trying to fight it hard in that spot. Big dive back. Marcel Belanger still wants 25th. Tries to get the pinch. Able to clear on by. By the way, stop and go 30-second hold given to Peze as a result of the first lap incident. The 471 will have to go to the pit lane early to serve a penalty.
Hey, this is not over yet. BMW is making the challenge to come back here.
I can settle down for the time being. We'll see if it picks up in the next couple laps. Speaking of BMWs, the highest running BMW is all over the back bumper of the Lamborghini of Landry. Marc-Antoine Landry trying to play defense still. Moisson looks a bit quicker, just can't get the run.
Yeah, it looked like Lamborghini had a nice plant down through the corkscrew, gained a little bit of ground on. But I think the BMW is going to make its way back. Watch this, I think you're going to see him on the run to corner too.
He's been looking really solid in Sector 2, in particular when it comes to his run to the Ray Hall straight. So for a chance to close up for a look, not quite. For the dreaded hairpin this time. Start up the next lapping. Meanwhile, checking back in on the race winner last time out, Rasin for Team GTCQ is still in 14th position where he started this race. He was in the middle of the hornet's nest of drivers who had the slam of the brakes in the middle of the corkscrew early.
I didn't see if he was involved in the actual contact itself, but yeah, just not again able to see Racine step it up for qualifying just yet. But we're still early, you never know.
Ari was amongst those, believe, who had a big slide in that same section as a result of the incident. He's still in 15th, however, looking to keep it clean at the tail end of this group and is almost the buffer car to DeWart, second in the Pro-Am side.
And anybody had those big slides, you know, now you got to think about did they flat spot the tires?
That's huge to think about, too, because when you flat spot the tires, that really hurts your ability to drive on said tires, to put it lightly.
And then you're not coming in to change them. That's your races. Drivers really don't have, somebody wide at the top of the corkscrew, but yeah, they're coming for tires in these 3 races, and it's pretty much done.
I believe that was the 77 amongst those who were in the grouping that went over wide. Kachunas. Another has had a problem notice at the top of the scoring pylon as well. That was the 888. As Munsto slipping and sliding off the circuit. Here's Thomas Lavoie, meanwhile. He's in 11th position. He hasn't been slipping and sliding. If anything, he has a chance to pass cars for the top 10 for laps racing.
Number dear to my heart, number 20.
It's so intriguing, the connections that drivers have with numbers. Why did you choose the number 20?
Funny story to that actually was I wanted 43 for Richard Denny. It wasn't available. The second favorite driver, Gordon John.
And there's a lot of support, too, when it comes to Gordon Jarncock in particular. Some drivers in particular in the sim racing world have been paying tribute to many of the paint schemes from that era because of how memorable some of the runs he had in those cars were. Aury, meanwhile, still keeping an eye on him in 15th position. Really clipping a bit of that bottom splitter and the bottom edge of that front bumper along the edge of the corkscrew. One driver picking up some sand, though. No major changes, though, it looks like, in the group, despite the smoke pop.
A lot of sand around the outside. You can see it all around the racetrack, so that's
Oh, and I think we just found where that may have been. You see that blue and white car? That's one of the test racing cars. That is Melanson, who went off the track from the top 10. He's back to 12th. He is still fighting hard. All in front of him, Lavoie, who's now top 10, trying to settle things down. Melanson, he's under the pressure, though, for the pro drivers. Contact Cat Jonas gets hit from behind by Racine. He dives to the right side, and the Bentley gives the courtesy, though. After the contact, he gives the spot back.
And that's great gentleman driving right there.
Meanwhile, Lavoie has moved up to 9th, past Cloutier.
So I mentioned the 775
Especially if there's mistakes that start to build up more and more, like the snowball. Here's Cloutier. Deeper on the brakes, can't get to the 20. Ortewad, though, nearly breaks the back end of the race car. Sending hard to the corner, nearly got to the back end of the 10th place driver in Cloutier. The SOP and the Arctic Car Machine had started off strong this season, has had some roller coasters of emotions lately, though. Has really slipped back down after being contender for wins early. He is looking to still hold on to top 10 of the points. Oh, there he goes! Bordelon is spinning. He's towards the inside. Keeps it off the tire wall, though. But that will lose him several spots. And now he's trying to block after saving it. He holds up Cat Jonas. Cat Jonas not happy, trying to make the send. Can't make it work.
That was an interesting and to do that because it sure looked like Chicago.
Oh, and Cat Jonas puts the bumper to him. If anything, that made the 715 make the corner better. Cat Jonas not happy, it looks like, after the major block, after the big save off the corner. And that has now bottled up the battle for 14th on back. Especially with the momentum carried at that point. Sim trying to find a way back around. Riding on board with the Team GTCQ machine. We're a little bit of the feathering of the throttle through these corners right now, in particular with some of the heat starting to pick up, not just temper-wise, but track temperature-wise. Getting close to the back bumper of the 77 yet again. Bentley, though, not able to find a way around his fellow car manufacturer make. For reference, by the way, the overall race leader is about 5 corners ahead currently. In what has been a crazy first 14 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. It's been 14 minutes. Welcome to Laguna Seca. It gets crazy here.
So I think we may be, like I said, only 15 minutes in, but I still think we'll with the late pit stop stretch.
Keep in mind, when it comes to the pylon, you may notice all the ones. That shows who has to make the required pit stop. Green means they've completed a scheduled stop. The first of the drivers who elected to try the different strategy is Tommy Landry currently. However, he's back all the way in the final corner. Race leaders are already at least half the track to 3/4 up the road. Speaking of up the road, here's Moisson. He has not been able to find a way around the other Landry on circuit.
No, the same distance pretty much, these two. I think they got a good battle going on, and Moisson doing all he can to keep things honest in front of him, and I don't think Landry is affected by it at all. He's having a great race.
Seeing on the track map, by the way, an issue when it came to Vincent General de Guise. He is back going, though. That lost him about 10 seconds. Here's a look at Kevin Racine, and now back up to Moisson as we go back and forth. And you see the difference. I've noticed it with some of the BMWs with this team in particular. They've been really good in braking on entry, but have not been able to maintain it on exit, though, with the deeper sends.
Yeah, we've seen that in this race. He comes off 11. He has that good run down to 1 or 2, but still just not quite enough. Not getting close enough to challenge what that nose of the BMW decided to make.
Seeing you see in the backdrop, a bit of a slide. Holds on to it, though. Lost himself a couple tenths of a second. Compare that to Bordelon, meanwhile, who still cannot find a way back around Alary in this pack. That's now for 12th position, as Melanson has ran away from the group. How big is the advantage, by the way, for the 99? Van is up by 10 seconds compared to the battle for third. 7 seconds to Bordeaux and growing.
It's just unbelievable how he is able to check out.
Meanwhile, Kajunas has enough. The big send. Everyone bottles up each other. Melanson gets dive bombed by 3 different cars. That drops him back to the fringes of the top 15. Levaik is now right in the mix to battle for the Pro-Am lead. Racine trying to hold on in the battle for now for 13th. Holds on to the 715. And guess who's the next car back? It's Levaik. What were you saying about his chances? He's right there within 2 tenths.
Pro-Am's getting exciting now.
Racine trying to block. Goes to the middle of the track towards the braking zone. No send to the inside for Bordeaux. Here's a look at Levaik. Now in the battle for the Pro-Am race lead. He's had to close up a deficit of about 5 to 10 seconds on track. 3 cars covered by a blanket. Bidding's in the group. DeWard is also gaining about 1.5 tenths per sector right now. So this could be up to 4 cars in the conversation. By the way, the 99 has dealt with the first lap traffic of the race. Last time by 1:22.5, his quickest lap of the 1:22.1s. He is still running qualifying style lap times to be able to hold on to the 9.5 second cushion compared to the much more compact Pro-Am side. Take a look at one of the air battles going on in the front straight away. This pack of cars, they've gotten so crazy for 11th on back. The gap is about 6 seconds to this choo-choo train. Right now, the conductor trying to go woohoo is Kajunas. But you have to wonder when the intensity picks up. But because guess what? It's a 4-car battle for the Pro-Am lead now.
Yeah, Kajunas had that little moment before where he's had to settle himself back down again as well. So, you know, he's doing a good job there after a near miss there a few laps ago.
Sometimes you may wonder, why can't it just be the Landry and Moisson if you're the driver perspective in terms of the calmness of the battle? Then you have everybody wanting to fight for the same position, 7 at once in fact in some cases. like you have for the 77 on back. You never know when it comes to racing, how intense it can be until the moment gets into the heat of things.
Yeah, that's the beauty of good racing, right? That's that intensity just starts to ramp up in times, and it just makes it that much more exciting for the fans.
But it can be very stressful as a driver, Glenn, too, to be able to keep calm in those situations.
You know, you got to keep your focus and your concentration on 10%, you get 100.
Especially with the chances of drivers, if you have that lapse of focus, you dive and make a pass the second you open the door.
Just look at that traffic map and the gag of the cars down the corner, too. They're just, like you said, just a pack of race cars.
Oh, Trevor Moisson, he has a bit of an overcorrection. That cost him about a 0.3 of a second on track. A big mistake from the 21. Meanwhile, the quietest battle on track is still 5th to 7th. Lawrence Dubé is still in the top 10 for test racing. It is Susi who leads this pack of cars. The middle car is Boulanger, David Boulanger in particular, with Medor trying to reel them in, who is 1.9 seconds back of Dubé.
Yeah, and a lot of clean racetrack in front of them, so they're doing their little thing right there in that little cluster of cars, just like I say, the three of them going at it, having a good little race.
You have to think, though, with the way we've seen the 70 try and make passes, on a chance to jump ahead here. If he gets the run, he's got a chance. One of his quicker runs, 1:23.6 last time by. He takes a peek there. Let's take a look at the replay, though. This is the moment we just talked about for the battle for third. That's a little bit of a heart-and-mouth moment, so to speak. One overcorrection a bit more to the right. That car's going to the tires. Instead, Moisson is 1.6 seconds back of Landry as things settle down there for the battle for third. Not so much here, because Malonson, the wide way around, nearly goes wide of the corner. Baudouin tries to go side by side now and trying to go door to door. Fight for 13th. Racine with a bit of contact slides him up.
Oh, good racing, good racing.
Keep in mind, this is still very valuable for some of the championship contenders, hence the intensity level. On top of a change now for the Pro-Am lead behind them. DeBitten for the first time this season leads it. He's still trying to run away. But this type of fighting, not going to make it easy. Here comes DeWart.
They are just packed in there. And, it's just going to continue to be such a great fight between these drivers.
Speaking of fight, battle for ninth still. Lavoie took a peek, couldn't take advantage of a mistake, it looks like, from Cloutier. Wants to do it again, though. Cloutier going defensive, hard into the corner, tries to hug the bottom of the Andretti hairpin and does.
First gear, double apex. You know, you've got a good opportunity to save that position. So yeah.
Orlan, meanwhile, again side by side for a second. Racine making the pass. How big is the difference between having space to work and being in this pack? Katjunas has closed 2 seconds in 3 laps. Oh, and a stop-and-go penalty. DeWart has a stop-and-go penalty. He was just in the lead grouping, I believe, before getting the stop-and-go banner, so something's just happened to the 17 car. So the battle for Pro-Am just went from 4 cars to 3. Marchand, though, is still closing in about 0.2 a sector right now to join that fight and get to the drafted, the 7 car, Abibido. Crazy how things can change, to say the very least, as here's the train for 20th. Very calm back there. Very blocky still down the front.
Yeah, very much so, right?
Ortolot wants to peel him away. A hard cut to the left, trying to break him. They door each other again. Bordelon trying to keep it to the right, though, for the next hard break. Takes a peek. Racine, though, with a better exit.
Yeah.
He's still there.
Still there, yeah. Still go wide. Now, but this time he's going to be... Oh, he got him.
DeBitten now.
Crossover.
Oh, DeBitten's up for grabs now with that bit of a block, though. He got checked up. Malonson nearly took a peek.
Yeah, they're going to go through the foul.
Now the battle is on for the Pro-Am lead. As a result, DeBitten takes it wide.
Right. Whoa.
Here comes the race lead switch again for Pro-Am. Malonson. He zips by to the corkscrew. DeBitten nearly hits him. One of the craziest races of the season as DeBitten nearly dived to the inside by Levike.
Yeah, did you see that? I thought he was going for it.
He wanted to go for it. DeBitten, though, with his best run, goes into the sand.
Position. Look at dirty tires in the sand. Look at this. Maybe not. He's able to hold him off well enough.
Settling on down for now. By the way, Dubé is now building up a buffer. A little bit for the fight group for 5th, 6th, and 7th between P6 and 7. More trouble for the 17. You just seen a moment for the flash with the yellow bubble. Looks like he is now done. The 17 off circuit. Here's a look at Riley Shentag amongst those towards the back after his attrition early. But towards this battle for third still, something's got to give if you're Moison, especially strategy-wise, you have to think.
Yeah, you know, there's just, again, great concentration going on here between the two of them. There's no doubt about that. It's over half an hour load.
Busiest race and craziest race of the season, to say the very least. Traffic is ahead. Bordeaux is having a hard time getting around said traffic, it appears. That was one of the cars just going wide up the road. Bordeaux.
Sorry, yeah, I was just saying, Moison had an interesting line there through, too.
Just can't make it work, it looks like, yet. Car they were trying to get around up there was the One Machine and Danique Valley, LA should say. These cars will have to try and find a way around that one as well. And it looks like some trouble for Levike. Levike has a penalty. Levike is now falling down the pylon as well. He is in the pit lane. Something's happened to the 775. Everything's starting to go haywire for the battle for Pro-Am's points lead. Dubé trying to battle it still for 5th, can't send it.
Wow, that just really upsets the whole race now for these Pro-Am drivers.
Oh, and the Pro drivers are slamming each other. Dubé on the back bumper of Susi. Dubé wants to go. Dubé to the inside. Huge block in turn 11. Boulanger, who had that big cushion before, to try and reel back in. Well, he's reeled it back in, and he's brought Mador with them. 4 cars now fighting it for the top 5. Here's a look from the helicopter.
And that's just how close it is. Look at that great shot.
22 picking up a lot of sand, though, on the corner exit, trying to reel it in. Here's Levike, has been officially clarified for the official stop, it looks like. He may have gone for a different strategy with how busy that pack was to maybe battle for the Pro-Am race win in the end of things. Here we look at the battle dual box. Lower corner is that train for 5th. Battle for 3rd with lap traffic ahead to deal with. Up top.
Saw the blue flags. He kindly stepped aside and let this battle continue through. That was good.
That may have helped a little bit, though, on the timing for Moison to send it a little bit. He's thinking about it. He tries it for third. And he does make it stick. New third place car. It's Alexis Moissac.
Yeah, no challenge at all.
True test now is coming up. Can he close up about 3 seconds to get to Bordeaux for second?
Sitting back there for quite a while. Yeah, we'll just have to see if now he can take this advantage he now has with the BMW and pull away.
Near pit stop this lap, it looks like it is Beaudry, who is also a Pro-Am driver, who is elected to come out of that main pack. Pit window was open for drivers to elect to try different strategies and get some clean track. As a result of, well, 11th on back being crazy. It does make sense in terms of the strategy game, indeed. Dubé, meanwhile, for 5th. No. That car's got plenty of scratches on it, to say the least, on almost every side of the car. And into the wall goes Ellery.
Moving again.
Ellery from the top 14 is in the wall. Here comes Dubé with the send. David Boulanger looking for the undercut. Dubé looking for the crossover on the exit. Can't get it.
Just tapped the back end a tiny bit there, but hey, this is a good race. Dubé's having a good run.
I don't blame Boulanger, though, for how aggressive this has been getting to go for the undercut either. We'll see if it works out well for the 22. More drivers off the circuit, the 988. And Ellery again has had an off-track moment getting to the pit entry. Looking as Dubé still cannot find a way to get himself to the inside of the BMW despite the attempts all race long. Clean track ahead for the next long while. Let's take a look at the race replay meanwhile. Here is what happened to Ellery. Too wide it looked like, Glenn.
Yeah, just got it off the outside of 6. Brought the sand into play.
That's why it's so important to time the speed, as here comes Riley Shentag amongst those who have tried to go for the undercut call. Making a dive underneath Tommy Landry. That's one of the Pro-Am drivers that was net third on that strategy call. The driver who's leading said strategy call, Boulanger, who's trying to dive in underneath Jeff Collins in the corkscrew, no.
Still there. The advantage on the inside of 9.
That lost him a bit of time, though, do you have to think?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it was a pretty bold move.
Looks like Jeff Collins, after the send, is electing to go in for the pit stop as well with 27 minutes to go on the clock.
Yeah, just before that replay, and actually he took advantage. Boulanger did at one of the passing points on this racetrack. I mentioned that there's 6 good passing places on this racetrack. 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 11, believe it or not, as 6 good passing points on this racetrack. And 7 leading up to the corkscrew is exactly where Boulanger did that.
Absolutely, and made it work, and that's the tricky part when it comes to corkscrew. Yes, it's a very great spot if you can make it stick without dooring somebody.
Yeah.
This is Bilodeau, by the way, for 20th position. And Landry, I've noticed Tommy Landry is losing a lot of ground after he elected to pit in the first 5 minutes. Not sure what's going on when it comes to that car for the 917.
Third coming into this round.
Looks like another driver is off track. Bilodeau, who we were just watching, has just come back to the racetrack after making a mistake in turn 3's exit towards turn 4. Around the bridge. They're back going, however. That's lost them a lot of ground. Dubé and company not reach them around the time this rejoin still happens. They are still 10 seconds back of it. Let's take a look at the replay. And this does involve the 7. did not look pretty right in the middle of apex off.
Yeah, he didn't have the handle at all. He just got away from him.
And that handling does add a little bit of a hood crunch in turn. Dubé trying to send it again. Gotta give Dubé credit. He's trying to make that run into the corkscrew work. The problem is no one wants to be sent to the inside from the corkscrew.
And look at the ground that he loses when he tries that. You almost think he could give up on that spot and maybe try it somewhere else, but he could also just be trying to pressure a mistake.
Already, by the way, into the pit lane, you see him juggle on in. Here's the front bumper view from Dubé, the test racing driver. Lost a bit of ground this lap. Last time by 1:24.3. That's the tough thing. He seems to be a bit quicker, but he just, again, being a little bit quicker is not the easiest thing, or rather, the telling sign of can you actually pass someone.
Exactly. That little bit of ground that he lost, look how long it's taking to try to peel that back in again.
They are reaching the lap car of the 7. Bilodeau just within 10 car lengths, heading towards the Rahal straight out of the corner. And that's going to make things a little bit nerve-wracking for these cars.
Right up on
That might not be the best timing when it comes to Zusi, possibly. Haven't reached him yet. They're within 5 car lengths. The lap car moving to the pits, yes. So that cleans up the racetrack. Dubé still thinking about the Sen again, trying it.
Look.
He almost licked the stamp to the point where it nearly knocked the mailbox down. Believe it or not, that can happen more than you'd think.
I gotta tell you, he's been aggressive, but cleanly aggressive, if you know what I'm trying to say. He's making the nose available to the inside, and he's just letting Susie know that I'm gonna get you if you give me the door. Open it up.
Seems like he's learned a little bit when it comes to that 3-wide situation for the opening lap indeed. Here's a look. Yeah, here's the look from the rear end of Susie. A bit of a mistake for Dubé, lost him time. See right there in particular, it doesn't look like Susie's as comfortable on corner exit right now compared to Dubé.
Well, is that a tire issue? 3 minutes to go. We've been pushing him hard. That incident on top of the race, not do anything with his handling in his car.
All this scuffling has allowed Mador, who is 2 seconds back, to close back in again to make this a 3-car train. By the way, race leader is in. Van has come into the pit lane in the 99 for his scheduled pit stop. A little bit earlier than you'd expect, though, from him.
Yeah, just wondering when we had big gaggle of cars coming up, just decided to clear that space.
Well, he just came out in a gaggle of cars, so...
You did, exactly, yeah.
So that call to get out of a gaggle of cars puts him in the middle of an even thicker gaggle of cars. His lead was so big, he's still in the top 5. More trouble up the road, possibly for these cars to try and deal with. The 31 has gone off track and has rejoined the surface. That has cleared out just in time, though. Here comes the Dubé outside, trying to make that work. No.
Look inside, went to the outside. He's just been pressuring the back end of this BMW to no end. Both sides trying to make a mistake.
Something's got to give.
He's not going for it. Yeah, he's not going for it right now. Well, look at that. He's trying to straighten it up.
Trying to straighten it out.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was going to try that outside we saw earlier.
Trying to send it a little bit more for the roll, just too tight.
Stay in third and then bring it down to first gear down.
A lot more runoff area being used by the BMW in front compared to the Ferrari. Difference with the slipstream starting to pop up about here. Not enough to really significantly change the complexion of the fight, though.
Then you see the watch double apex. They got down a little tighter on the first part of that turn.
Approaching 20 minutes to go, up on the clock. First driver who has pit so far is Boven. By the way, Malonson, DeBitten have come in. Keep an eye on the Pro-Am race lead. That is about to get busy as a result of the overcut call for some.
Again, busy again, as you mentioned, the door. Well, this is really going to be part of this race here.
Door trying to find a way to join the party in the popcorn seat. Loses a lot of ground, though, coming to the Rahal straight. Nearly went off the track. It looks like when they fight, Mador is quicker. But when they're all single file and settling down, that's where Mador struggles. Just the raw pace from the two cars in front a bit quicker.
There, he's had his challenges, to say the least, this race.
Already last car running currently on the lead lap. Majority of the top 10 still yet to come into pit. Some drivers this season, remember, have stretched it to as late as 5 minutes to go on the clock. In some cases, 3 minutes at tracks like Suzuka.
I don't know if anybody wants to take a screenshot right now, but seeing the 99 in fourth place might be the only time to see the end of the race. You won't see it.
Meanwhile, Valley quickly driving right on by Collins. Here's the interesting thing when it comes to the fuel calls, too. That can impact how much weight there is in the car in general, because the more weight fuel in the car, the more heavier the car can be. That might be a thought process for some, too, of course, who you have to factor in with the undercut calls.
That's a good point.
By the way, after the pit stop window, it appears, based on the timing, the gap for the race lead for Pro-Am, 5, make it 9 seconds. Or rather, I should say, Levikin, Malonson, yes indeed, is 9 seconds. So the call by Levike looking strong, as Dubé can't find a way to dive it inside again.
Yeah, that's a very great call. And again, could have been where, hit out in the traffic on the racetrack. That difference.
Looks like Landry has come in. The pro class driver is Dubé, punts a car. Dubé has punted a driver for the top 5. Susie has been spun by the test racing car.
Wow. No, I thought that maybe he was slowing down. Is he going to slow down and get the spot back? And he looked like he was at first, but not now. He's just continuing on. Wow.
Unbelievable. What happened there?
Well, we'll have to go to race control and see what happens on this one.
Dubé with a huge shunt to the back end. Mador is now up to 4th on track. Let's take a look at this. There had been at least 10 blocks already.
Whoa, he just sent it in there.
Was that a wheel hop, or was that a little bit more send compared to the last times? So as a result, Susie has been dropped towards the back end of the drivers yet to pit. Marc-Antoine Landry, by the way, might be one of those who benefits because of that. The 711 may be in line for a top 5. Remember, he was an undercut car, and he's on the back bumper, in fact, of Susie.
Yeah, he is. I'm just trying to see if you can see anything from Susie's perspective, because the car looks okay. Be able to continue on. Yeah, seems okay.
Dubé, he's elected to come into the pit lane, this time by as well for service. Currently the first driver on track in Pro-Am, who has yet to pit, is Marchand. This is an intriguing call for the 14. You can say the same for Lafrene. Those two trying to bit of something different to see where they fall, to stretch it to the end.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see if we can pull that off. Still up front, but you tend to think things are going to cycle through.
Here's Marc-Antoine Landry trying to pass by some of the drivers yet to pit. 711 moves up to 8th on the racetrack. And Susie definitely looks like he's really struggling as a result of that hit from behind and that spin. He's up for grabs to battle with Bourdouin, who is for position. Surprised there wasn't a pit stop call yet with the slip back that we're seeing for Susie as a result of the contact early. A time by 1:24.4 on the stopwatch, quickest time for Landry, 1:22.8 tonight. Looks to set sail, try and pick off a few more drivers who are yet to pit. Katjunas in front of him, Lavoie yet to pit, Cloutier, Mador, Moisson also yet to pit, as well as the leader currently in Bourdouin. Under attack, meanwhile, are some of the drivers in the Pro-Am cars, because Riley Shentag is trying to make up for lost time after being involved in the first lap incident. He is battling with the Pro-Am race leader currently.
Shentag wants to, again, maximize all he can after such a disappointment to start this race. He wants to maintain that second overall. As best he can right here. He's having to go at it.
Speaking of having to go, here is Valet trying to go side by side on the Bentleys. That is Jonathan Beaudry. Beaudry drops on back to 21st from that. We check back in on the battle for 16th on circuit. Shentag still yet to find a way around. Keep in mind, despite the shuffling a little bit, Melanson is 13 seconds back. Remember, there are 4 cars covered under a blanket before the pit stops.
Yeah, and wow, this again might be upsetting the points at Pro-Am quite a fair bit.
A chance for a really solid overall placing finish. Let's take a look at the race replay. This is what happened with that big send. How about from 5 car lengths back? I believe some of those dive bombs that were available from a couple rounds ago are still in stock. Pit stop for the 16, by the way. Just made their way to the lane, so more of the mandatory stops are being taken by competitors with about 12 minutes to go on the clock, approaching 12 p.m. in sim time. Rene is that respective driver. Shentag tries to cut to the left side, can't make it work. Defensive line taken from the bike.
I just almost wonder if Levent should just let him go and worry about his Pro-Am battle. Because if Shentag gets into the side of him at all, it could really mess up Levent's race.
Looking really solid overall, you have to say, regardless. Davidin, meanwhile, moves up a spot to 21st. That is for class positioning 2. And this is going to...
The flip side of that is he's got that pro driver in between him and the rest of the Pro-Ams.
That's what I was going to say, as... Check that. Shentag licks the stamp, makes it stick, moves up to 15th overall.
Well, that blew our theory up.
He still has the 13-second cushion. In fact, I think he still picked up that sector, that past sector to the dive.
Again, why fight that fight? Let him go.
Take a look here. This is Moisson, who is getting pressurized by the 99. Van is nearly having a chance to take the race lead from the cars who are yet to pit yet. That's how quick the pace has been for the 99. Up to a second quicker in some cases. Looks like Moisson will give him some space. And tries to make it to second on track and does.
Yeah, nice amount of space he left him. He knew the fight wasn't there.
That's how dominant the 99's been tonight for advanced sim racing, you have to say. To where his competitors are yet to pit, and he has the chance to pass them on track before they can come down This could be one of the biggest win margins of the season if this plays out.
See how far back he is. They're on the same run to the corkscrew, but yeah, you're right. He could, depending on the timing here, he could catch.
He picked up 3/10 that sector, by the way. Here's a look at Susie. He is one of the final 4 cars on track yet to pit in terms of the pylon positioning. In total, about 10 cars yet to come down. Make it 9. Bourdain is in. That will give the race lead back to Boivin up at the front of the field. So take that out of the equation. The 5-second gap goes to mute.
It's still in the top 10. Have to make that pit stop though, and that'll cycle things through for us.
That's going to be the intriguing thing. Where do they cycle? Especially since some of the cars who have a chance to be around, if not near their groupings, are yet to peel on down. Kat Junis, it looks like, has elected to pit. Look at Bourdain amongst those yet to pit still so far. They are reaching packing of cars. 3 in total in this train. They still have Landry feeding them a bit of draft, who, keep in mind, is still in line for top 5 positioning. Meanwhile, Debitten, he wants to get some clean space and ascend at a spot you're not supposed to pass. Debitten spins Valeray out, and there goes the 44.
Yeah, 6 wasn't on my list of places to pass.
That is why you usually don't pass there, as Jonathan Beaudry does pick up a spot as a result. Malay tries to pull off and away to recover. Back to 22nd now. Just a look at the battles across the track, including David Boulanger. How did that election to go for the undercut do? Well, he passed Dubé by 2.4 seconds by the time Dubé finished his service, and had some contact before the pit stop. He passes the last car yet to pit in terms of the pylon.
Sean comes out of this. He does make that pit stop. That's a good run.
Not the greatest run coming out of turn 11, though, for Bourdain. Picks up a lot of sand on the right side of the car. That was some ground for the straightaway to the Andretti hairpin again. Expecting these drivers to pit with the next 3 laps or so to be able to make it to the end and make their mandatory pit stop. Inside of 7.5 at this point, too, yes. Well, the time flies, to say the least, today, with these cars flipping and flying around the circuit today.
All that action in the first 15 minutes, then carried through to pretty much the halfway point. Right, it's been a great race for action, and it's carried us right through almost the end of it already.
My candidate for race of the year in terms of the wildness in the mid-pack, you'd have to say.
Yeah, I agree.
On board, this is 7:15. SLP in the Arctic car. Bourdain. The pit entry timing could be intriguing if they're bumper to bumper when they try and get to the cone. Oh, he tries to get to the bumper. Will either of them take a peek? No. No pit stop yet. Losing touch now for Landry, it looks like, with how heavy the battling is getting. While trying to stick it along the end of the rumble strips, can't make it work to close up enough to get realistic sends yet. Marchand, by the way, is into the pit lane. That brings us down to 7 yet to take service in this race. Moisson, Mador, Cloutier, Lavoie, Soucy, Bourdain, Racine, all yet to come down for the mandatory pit stop with about 5 minutes to go on the clock.
I think we'll have to see these two coming together at this point of the race. They've got to make that stop at the same time, I guess.
It's going to be difficult, I think, to try and stretch at this point unless you've worked in the draft for a long time. For a couple of these drivers, they've had clean space the whole time before they're fighting. Susie in particular. See if they elect to come down at the 5-minute to go mark even this time. Hard send Bordeaux on. None of them poke in yet. In fact, none of the drivers, for the most part, coming in except for Cloutier and Lavoie. So it's down to 5 yet to come down with 5 minutes to go.
I just wonder if we're going to see a challenge at all, or they're just going to run this way to the pit stop and then duke it out after the stop.
Here's the interesting layer of all this. We talked about where would Marchand cycle. He went one of the farthest out of anybody, the furthest in the Pro-Am class. He's second in the class now, would be his best finish of the season.
Again, I didn't see where he came in up to see what the pack of cars around him was, but that's a great finish.
6.6 seconds back at Levaque, but he's cycling in front of Malone, Son and company. Big time, to say the least, for him, as Malay tries to let by some cars. As they cycle about. Here is the look in particular when it comes to Marchand, but he isn't alone. He has Kat Junis, who wants some spots overall. And it looks like Marchand will give it to him.
Yep. Don't fight the fight.
Moisson and Mador, both in this time. Into the lane goes Susie. Not so much for Bourdouin. He'll look to stretch it coming to the final couple laps of the race.
He needs a good lap here. He needs a nice, clean run, and I think he'll have it as well. Looking at the track in front of him. It's okay.
He'll be the last driver to pit in this race. Light, meanwhile, looking to score any type of points with what's been a bumping and banging run for the one machine today. 25 cars still running on the track for the final 3 minutes, about 2 to go.
You know, and considering how that first run into the clubs went, that's a good run. Good showing for the cars.
Oh, and something's gone to Mador. Stop and go, 30-second hold. Mador, who was in line for a top 5, has a penalty. He was battling with his teammate at the time. The EGT Motorsport car will have to come in and serve a penalty with about a lap to go. Unbelievable for Mador, who had clawed his way to get himself in the mix for the top 5 before the pit stop window, and now will have to sacrifice the spot.
Yeah, that's tough going right there.
We'll see if he elects to come down this time, expecting it indeed, with how much time's left in the clock, the urgency to have to serve a penalty such as that. That would cycle him to the very tail of the field. There he goes. Meanwhile, we're expecting it to be very tight for how many laps to go from this mark now, it looks like, because then, based on the timing, might get 1 to go, might get 2 to go.
It's going to be close.
There goes the lap car. Lap time's been around the 1 minute 22 second bracket. 1 minute 32 on the clock, 2 to go.
Well, that's good news for some of the drivers that still have some good battles to run out there. They've got a couple of laps to try to get it done.
Chance to settle down and breathe for some. Just notice Racine has not yet pit either, surprisingly, in the 223.
Yeah, just not that. So now we got 715. He's going to be making 20 this time. He's got it. He just comes from 10.
See him, the bubbles off the track. Yes, he's coming in. Here's the Bennett. What a charge in this final stint for him in this race. He came out 22nd spot overall. He is now with a chance to fight lapper will be top 5 in the class, 18th on track with Frene. Albeit he spun one car this run. They'll be coming up to the white flag this time. All while Melanson, he's looking to try and keep up with the Vike in the point standings. He has reeled in the 14 coming towards the final time around.
This is going to make for a good Pro-Am finish for sure.
Meanwhile, the Pro Class leader, Jonathan Boven, has now taken the white flag, this time by final lap from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The Advanced Sim Racing driver has dominated, to say the least. He's been the quickest car on track from the get-go and looks to close it out in the next 90 seconds.
That 11th place finish, and here's this great battle for Pro-Am. Final lap.
Melanson taking a peek, now goes to the right side. Andretti hairpin tries to go the long way, goes for the crossover. Melanson crosses up and away Marchand. He gets him wide. Melanson up to second in class. What a move.
What a move, yeah.
Picture perfect to slice that up, Glenn.
Trying to do the best he can. But boy, that was textbook.
Textbook driving can be said, though, as well for the Lexus. 43 laps coming to the end of this lap will be the chance to celebrate once more. Jonathan Boven has dominated all season long when he's got in track position. He recovers from a bad run last time with an unbelievable run this time in California. Off the final corner, the Advanced Sim Racing 99 wins it out with WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
What a run.
One of his fastest lap of the race comes that time as well. Eric Bourdois finishes in second. And Racine did not pit. Glenn, he did not pit. It's a 1 minute and 30-second penalty for Racine time penalty.
I'm speechless. I don't know why he didn't pit.
That's going to put the 223, one of the last cars on the track. Bourdois will still come away second regardless. The Vike has already taken the checker to win the Pro-Am class. Melanson's held on by 4/10 over Marchand. Moisson holds on for a podium. Marc-Antoine Landry, with the very early pit call, cycles his way to fourth to avoid the craziness. And you have to wonder the decisions post-race for this car. Dubé, after bumping and banging contact, 6th on track towards the end here.
A lot of changing in the points, I'll tell you that much, after this race. It's going to be interesting to see where we land for the next round.
Especially with Susi, the driver who was hit by Dubé, finishing 10th after fighting for 5th for their pit stops. That finishes all the drivers coming across the line here on circuit. Again, race results unofficial till reviewed by race control. Jonathan Boven, quickest lap of 122.162, picks up the victory. 33 seconds was the official interval between him and Bourdois. Moisson finishes in third to round out the podium. What a race, Glenn, for the top three.
Incredible race. 33 seconds. That's another race. Like, he won by another race.
Say the very least. Several positions to be looked at, Dubé and several more throughout the aftermath of this one. What your quick final thoughts after what was a very intense race, to say the very least, from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca? Next up is Barcelona. That track can be challenging to pass at.
Another great race ahead of them, as you mentioned at the top of the order here. The big undulation, big elevation change behind us, but another tricky track to come ahead.
Of course, the circuit to Barcelona, Catalona will be on the docket for drivers April the 22nd. Be sure to keep up with the action. English and French coverage for EGT3 Challenge Pro competition. Season 5 has been wild, but with 2 races to go, the battle for the title, especially in the Pro-Am side, could get even wilder. Be sure to tune in once again on April the 22nd from Barcelona. But with that, it's time to say goodbye for my co-announcer tonight and Glenn Butt. For the rest of our crew, my name's Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching EGT3 Challenge Pro competition from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Congratulations to your race winner, Jonathan Boven, your winner from California.